So guys, this is kind of driving me nuts a little bit. I feel like this needs to be spoken about. So I'm arguing with these people lately on X, or like Catholics or Orthos or whatever. They're always arguing, sola scriptura, that Protestants believe in sola scriptura and that it's self-defeating because of this and that. Okay, here's the thing. Sola scriptura is a bit of a straw man because that's not what Protestants... I think more accurate would be sola Jesus, or even just like Jesus' words are highest priority out of all the, New Testament scripture. And they get caught up in all these, they think you need to read church fathers. You need to read the words that they wrote to understand scripture. And I think it was on X, I commented, I said, actually, I find reading the direct words of Jesus to be much more, produce much more clarity than reading church fathers. And they all, of course, disagree with that. It's like, are words self-interpreting? Oh, so you're saying you're your own pope? And I'm like, so wait a second. Well, hypothetically, just let's say God appeared to you and gave you some commands. Now, I'm not saying, we should believe that God appears to people right now, but obviously it could happen. Obviously, it's spoken about in the Bible several times, so it could happen. Let's say God appeared to you and gave you some commands. These people want you to believe that you cannot trust those commands by God. That you have to go to a church father after God appears to you. You have to go to a church father and get those words interpreted so you truly understand. That's basically what they're saying. You can't trust if God literally appears to you and gave you some commands, you can't trust those. You have to talk to like a church. That's basically the same argument, because if Jesus is God, that's the Christian belief. Any other belief would be heresy. Jesus' commands are God's commands. And all historians, even secular historians, agree that Jesus really said those words in the New Testament. Like the New Testament is one of the most historically reliable books or documents. So we can trust that those are Jesus' words. So if those are Jesus' words, those are God's words. Those are Jesus' commands, those are God's commands. So how is that different? How is that different than God's direct commands to you? And aren't all heresies based on man's reinterpretation of God's words? I mean, can you think of one that's not caused by man? All heresies. And that's another argument they give. There wouldn't be so many Protestant denominations if you could just trust Jesus' words. But actually, every deviation, every denomination or every different interpretation is actually deviating from Jesus' direct words. If you actually look at the things he said, they're very clear. Don't divorce. The only way you could argue against that is to go look at something someone else said, not Jesus. Like maybe something Paul said. You try to figure out some kind of, you know what I mean? So, yeah, I just can't, I can't get behind that idea that you need to read church fathers. You need to go to a church leader to understand scripture. If those are Jesus's words, those are God's words. And I mean, sometimes, and some people will say, well, how do you know what's symbolic and what's clear? The same way we know in everyday language. When someone says, before you go out to perform in a play, someone says, break a leg, we all know that doesn't mean go break your tibia bone in half. Everyone knows that. It's the same way we determine in everyday language. It's actually super easy. We do it all the time. Almost every day we do it. It's the same way it's in the Bible. You can tell, like when Jesus is speaking in parables, it's really clear he's speaking in parables. When he's being symbolic, it's super clear. You don't need a church father most of the time with any of Jesus' words, really. You don't need now sometimes it can help, but it shouldn't be it shouldn't be at the top of the hierarchy. The top of the hierarchy is God. The top of the hierarchy is Jesus. If there's a hierarchy of authorities, Jesus' words are higher than the church fathers. Plain and simple. There's no other way around that. Correct me if I'm wrong.